Hey, it's Joshua Vergara from Android Authority. What's going on, everybody? And today we're comparing two phones that, for the most part, are exactly the same. This is the Sony Xperia Z versus the Sony Xperia ZL. Obviously, we're going to start with the look and feel. The Xperia Z brought a design we don't see too often these days, a very blocky, rectangular design with rigid corners. This rather unique look has brought the Z quite a bit of design praise, and for good reason. It really is a quite sleek, glass-encased phone. Glass on both sides makes the Z very fingerprint prone, however, and the button layout is on the right side with the large and hard-to-miss silver power button above the volume rockers. All ports are then covered by pieces of plastic to help one of the Z's main draws, its water and dust resistance. The Xperia ZL, on the other hand, isn't all glass, but the front is reminiscent of that rectangular design. There is, however, a really cool LED light that isn't just a circular pulse found at the bottom. Instead, it is like a line that is very Sony-like in spirit. The back, though, is made of a textured plastic that does help lower the slippage. The little cover on the bottom houses the SD and micro SIM slots and is arguably the only real eyesore. The button layout is a little different. The silver power button is in the middle again, while the volume rockers are now above, but below the power button is the ZL's main addition here, which is the dedicated camera button. And as far as the size goes, it is about 5mm shorter than the Z, but a few millimeters thicker. This slightly smaller size, in terms of its form factor, does make a difference though. So for design, the Xperia Z is the phone that causes more heads to turn. And I'm being serious there. Whenever I had the Xperia Z out, someone wanted to know what it was because it wasn't only different, it was also quite attractive. However, the ZL gets the point for feel because it is the most compact body you can find on a 5-inch screen. The real estate on the front is over 75% covered in just the 1080p screen, and when the bezel is that small, the body shrinks too. So this is probably one of the best handling phones, if not the best handling phone with a 5-inch screen, and that's really darn cool. Speaking of the screen, there really isn't much of a contest here. Both the Z and the ZL have a 5-inch 1080p screen capable of 441 pixels per inch. They are very sharp displays that benefit from the Bravia engine, especially when you just look at them dead on. But unfortunately, you're going to get the same bad viewing angles on both devices, as the fidelity of the displays are greatly degraded at even moderate angles. Sure, you can change the white balance on the ZL screen in the options or the settings, but that doesn't fix the bad angles. So as long as you keep your eyes straight onto the display, you'll get a great experience in what basically seems like a small Sony TV in the palm of your hand. Hardware and performance turns this into a story of what exactly do you want. Performance-wise, you get the same package in either device. The 1.5 GHz Snapdragon S4 Pro with an Adreno 320 GPU. 2 GB of RAM are available, and then you have 16 or 32 GB of memory expandable by SD card slots. But the hardware in the Z is all water resistant up to 1 meter in water, which is pretty nice. It makes for a cool trick to show off to your friends, but can also be a saving grace in an accident if someone spills water or what have you onto your device. Meanwhile, the not waterproof or water-resistant Xperia ZL has an IR blaster that allows it to communicate with various devices like TVs or Blu-ray players, which effectively make it replace your remotes. Unfortunately, both have their advantages in these cases and thus fulfill particularly different needs. Water resistance is cool, but so is natively being able to turn on pretty much any TV you might have. We got another tie here. Battery life doesn't change this result at all either. Even though the Xperia ZL has 40 more milliamps in its battery than the one found in the Z, which is at 2330, you still get the same decent battery life either way. As far as software goes, you do get the same Jelly Bean 4.1.2 operating system covered in Xperia flavors in either phone. They're nice, putting together Jelly Bean features with ice cream sandwich looks and Xperia additions like small apps for multitasking. The only real advantage here is found in the Xperia ZL because of its IR blaster. You get the remote control application, which allows you to take control of pretty much any device that you might have for media, like TVs, set-top boxes for cable, or Blu-ray players. It may not work right away, but there is a manual setup mode so that you can make it work when you need to. With a little bit of effort, it does provide for extra functionality in the Xperia ZL, and that's why it gets the slight edge in this one. And finally, we have the cameras. The rear cameras on both devices are 13 megapixel shooters powered by Exmor RS sensors. Both are more than decent in quality, and superior auto works quite well. The Xperia ZL has a rather unique relic in its toolbox though, that dedicated camera button. It works really nicely and kind of reminds you of days that were long gone when most phones came with a dedicated camera button. But the real story here is in the front cameras. The Z has a 2.2 megapixel shooter while the ZL only has 2 megapixels. However, it's the placement of the Xperia ZL's front-facing camera in the lower right corner that is quite deliberate. Apparently, Sony found that users look lower into the screen than top-located cameras can really capture, so lowering its position makes things look much more natural during a video call. While it might be a nice gimmick, I personally don't know anyone that truly cares if their callers are looking right into their eyes. So ultimately, it comes down to whether or not you really want that dedicated camera button at the sacrifice of water resistance. The performance when it comes down to it is the same on both, so you can take your pick between these two. So in the end, was it really any surprise that both of these phones are so neck and neck? Ultimately, you're getting the same performance in two bodies that fulfill different needs. I really think that both phones are really great, so it comes down to which feature means more to you. Water resistance is really good, but I personally love the smaller form factor of the Xperia ZL. Those few millimeters do make a difference, and thus I prefer to have the most compact 5-inch phone available right now. The IR blaster and dedicated camera button are both bonuses to this, so if these features altogether equal greater than water resistance for you, then the ZL is your phone. That's exactly what happened with me. How do you feel about this comparison? Let us know in the comments below or at AndroidAuthority.com. And remember that we're always putting up great content for you on this YouTube channel, so don't forget to subscribe, for we are your source for all things Android.